Hey fans and subscribers, this is your host Joe on the Gaming for Insight channel with another video of the segment Which Handheld Plays It Better. This is where I take two handhelds to see which one is better at playing one of your favorite games. For this video, the channel selected ArcRunner to play on the ASUS ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. To briefly introduce this video, I played ArcRunner on these devices, looking at frame rates with certain power limits. Ultimately, you decide which one is better. I will at least provide you some data and give my insights. I am not going to go through all of these numbers because that would make this video probably way too long. Instead, let me set this up for you. To give some consistency to the data from the tests, I set some parameters. You can see those at the bottom of the screen for the techies that are interested to know all of the details. Some important ones, though, you should know are that I played ArcRunner on both devices with high settings, no tweaks at default, though the resolution was different on each one. For the Ally, I played at 1920 x 1080, and on the Steam Deck, I played at 1280 x 800. No ray tracing was used, no FidelityFX Super Resolution or FSR was used in-game through the OS or another software. The Steam Deck has a maximum thermal design power or TDP limit of 15 watt for its accelerated processing unit or APU, unlike the ROG Ally with a maximum TDP limit of 30 watt, which means I could not match the Steam Deck at higher than 15 watt to compare with the Ally. So let's talk about frame rates, because if you are watching this video, you want to know what frame rates you will get playing at a certain power limit. Overall, and this is to be expected, the more intense the combat in ArcRunner, the greater the frame rate dropped based on these test results. At the 15 watt limit on the Steam Deck and 15 watt plus limits on the Ally, the results followed the pattern of the most intense combat scenarios at the lower 40s with drops into the upper and lower 30s. However, the returns to the baseline were quick as the next frame. The Ally at 15 watt plus limits at a baseline frame rate of over 60, even up to the 80s on the higher TDP limits when walking around the combat zone, though this was not the case when combat began. In comparison, on the Steam Deck at the 15 watt TDP limit, walking around the combat zone at the highest frame rate was 62. This was not the case at 9 watt. Based on the test results, walking around in the combat zone felt smoother on the Ally than on the Steam Deck. When the tests were scoped to the 9 watt limit, the Ally had a baseline of a lower frame rate than the Steam Deck with intense combat, not even able to stay within the frame rate range of the 20s. However, the Steam Deck at the 9 watt limit would only drop to the upper 20s as its lowest for frame rates at the baseline. Based on the test results using the specified test parameters, the Steam Deck was better at the 9 watt TDP limit than the Ally. The Ally at the 15 watt TDP limit included a baseline frame rate that went as low as the 30 range during intense combat. On the Steam Deck at the same TDP limit, the frame rate at the baseline reached only the 40s at the lower end of its baseline range during intense combat. In this case, the Steam Deck did better during combat scenarios, while the Ally did better with scenarios walking around the combat zone, reaching a higher frame rate. Setting the resolution of the Ally to 720p can perhaps prevent the baseline range dropping into the 30s during combat, specifically intense combat. However, I did not find the test results at the 1080p resolution a problem on my playthrough on the Ally of the game. However, that is just my personal preference, importantly. My overall conclusion based on these test results are this. Alone, the Steam Deck at 9 watt is manageable for playing this game in high settings. On the Ally, I would consider either using a battery brick to set a higher APU TDP limit, enable FSR through Armory Crate, change the in-game settings to medium or low, and/or drop the resolution to 720p to perhaps meet the frame rates of the Steam Deck at the wattage limit. Next, the turbo mode isn't necessary for this game on the Ally. In fact, the Ally on turbo mode stayed at a 25 watt, instead not pushing the 30 watt unless on the menu screen. So with that said, save yourself some battery life and use a 25 watt profile, or even better, if you don't mind the 30 FPS range at 1080p resolution, create a manual profile with a 15 watt limit within Armory Crate to use for the operation mode. The performance profile on the Ally is set to allow for a 15 watt TDP limit. However, the channel's test saw that the 15 watts acts more as a suggested range than a limit. The profile showed the wattage over 15 at times, unlike the manual profile created for the test. Overall, I had a great experience on both, including the Ally at 9 watt with in-game high settings, as it was still manageable. I mean, I played for over an hour on it. I will have to say I really enjoyed seeing ArcRunner on the Ally screen compared to the Steam Deck, but that has nothing to do with performance. So what do you think? Which handheld is better at playing ArcRunner? Are you playing ArcRunner on the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally, or both? Are you getting these same frame rates or different ones even? All of this, let me know in the comments. I am interested to read what you have to say. Also, the channel is going in the direction to develop more of these videos, so this is just the start. This video on ArcRunner is the second one of the segment. Feel welcome to share what games you would like to see in these videos. With that, let me leave you now with the words of Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. I should go.